Alicia Carter thought she was just accepting a job, cooking meals for a cold-guarded millionaire who kept the world at arm's length. But when playful kitchen moments turned into stolen glances and forbidden touches, she realized she'd signed a contract that never mentioned the most dangerous ingredient of all: love. Daniel Pierce had sworn never to trust again after betrayal nearly destroyed him, yet here he was, falling for the one woman his toxic family would never accept. What Alicia didn't know was that someone was watching, waiting to expose their secret and rip them apart before they ever had a chance. This is a story about a woman who had to choose between protecting her heart and risking everything for a love that could either heal them both or destroy them completely. Subscribe right now and comment where you're watching from, because this romance is about to take a turn that'll have you gasping at your screen. Alicia Carter's feet ached. They always did after a 12-hour shift at Rosie's Diner, where the coffee never stopped brewing and the customers never stopped complaining. She pulled off her grease-stained apron and tossed it into her locker, her shoulders sagging with exhaustion. "Girl, you look dead on your feet," her co-worker Marie said, wiping down the counter nearby. "I feel dead everywhere," Alicia muttered, grabbing her purse. Her phone buzzed just as she was about to clock out. An unknown number. She almost ignored it, probably spam, but something made her answer. "Hello? Is this Alicia Carter?" A woman's voice, crisp and professional. "Yes? My name is Mrs. Howard. I'm calling on behalf of Mr. Daniel Pierce. He's looking for a private chef, and your name came highly recommended." Alicia's heart skipped. A private chef. That was the kind of job she'd dreamed about back in culinary school, before student loans and reality crushed those dreams into working double shifts at a diner. I'm interested," she said carefully. "Can you tell me more?" "Mr. Pierce prefers to discuss details in person. Would you be available for an interview tomorrow at 10? Tomorrow was her only day off this week. She should sleep. She should do laundry. She should— "Yes," Alicia heard herself say. "I'll be there." Mrs. Howard gave her an address that made Alicia's eyes widen. That was the fancy part of town, where houses had names instead of numbers and gates instead of fences. When she hung up, her hands were shaking. "You're insane," Lydia said the next morning, perched on Alicia's kitchen counter while Alicia ironed her best chef's whites. "You don't even know this guy. He could be some creep. He's a millionaire, Lydia." Mrs. Howard sounded completely professional. "Rich doesn't mean safe." Lydia bit into an apple, watching her friend with worried eyes. "What if he's one of those types who thinks his money can buy anything? Anyone?" Alicia paused, the iron steaming in her hand. She'd thought about that too. At 26, she'd learned to be careful around men who saw her as something they could possess. But this was different. This was a job. A real chance to cook the way she'd always wanted to, not scrambling eggs and flipping burgers, but creating something beautiful. "I'll be careful," she promised. "But Lydia, if this is real, if I could actually cook for someone who appreciates good food, that's everything I've worked for." Lydia sighed. "Okay, but text me every hour, and if anything feels wrong, you leave. Promise?" "Promise." Alicia slipped into her uniform, white double-breasted jacket, black pants, her chef's hat sitting perfectly on her carefully pinned braids. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone professional, capable, ready, even if her stomach was doing somersaults. The gates to the Pierce estate were 12 feet tall and made of wrought iron that probably cost more than Alicia's car. She pressed the intercom button with a trembling finger. "Name?" A man's voice, bored. "Alicia Carter. I'm here for an interview." The gates swung open silently. The driveway curved through perfectly manicured lawns, past fountains and rose gardens that looked like something from a magazine. The mansion itself was enormous, all white stone and tall windows that gleamed in the morning sun. Alicia parked her beat-up Honda next to a sleek black Mercedes and felt completely out of place. Mrs. Howard met her at the door. She was older, maybe 55, with grey hair pulled into a neat bun and kind eyes that assessed Alicia quickly. "Miss Carter, right on time. Please come in." The interior was even more impressive. Marble floors, artwork that was probably original, a chandelier that sparkled like captured stars. Alicia's shoes squeaked slightly as she walked, and she winced. "Don't worry, dear," Mrs. Howard said with a small smile. "The house is meant to be lived in, not worshipped. Mr. Pierce is just finishing his morning workout. He'll meet you in the kitchen." The kitchen was massive. Stainless steel appliances, a 8-burner stove, 2 ovens, counter space for days. Alicia's heart actually fluttered. She could create magic here. "He'll be down shortly," Mrs. Howard said. "Can I get you anything?" Water? Coffee? Water would be great, thank you. Alicia sipped it slowly, trying to calm her nerves. She heard footsteps on the stairs, confident, unhurried. Then he walked in. Daniel Pierce was not what she expected. He was shirtless, a towel draped around his neck, his skin still gleaming with sweat from his workout. Dark hair, intense blue eyes, maybe 30 years old. Handsome in that carved, angular way that probably made women stare. But his expression was cold, guarded, like he'd built walls around himself and had no intention of letting anyone through. He looked at her the way someone might look at a piece of furniture they were considering buying. "You're the cook," he said, not a question. Alicia stood straighter. "I'm a chef, and yes, I'm here for the interview." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe that she'd corrected him. He grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, studying her over the rim as he drank. "Mrs. Howard says you're good." "I am." Confident, honest. The corner of his mouth might have twitched, or maybe she imagined it. "What makes you think you can cook for me?" he asked, leaning against the counter. "This isn't a diner, Miss Carter. I have specific tastes, high standards." Heat rose in Alicia's cheeks, but she kept her voice steady. "I graduated top of my class from the Culinary Institute. I've worked in kitchens since I was 16, and I know the difference between cooking to fill a stomach and cooking to satisfy a soul, Mr. Pierce." He raised an eyebrow. "Prove it." "Excuse me? Cook me something, right now. Show me what you got." Alicia's heart hammered. This wasn't a normal interview. This was a test. She looked around the kitchen, saw the well-stocked pantry, the fresh ingredients in the refrigerator. "What do you like?" she asked. "Surprise me." "Fine." Challenge accepted. She moved through the kitchen like it was already hers, pulling out eggs, butter, fresh herbs, cheese. Her hands worked automatically, cracking eggs, whisking, heating the pan to exactly the right temperature. She could feel him watching her, those blue eyes tracking every movement. She made him an omelette, but not just any omelette. Fluffy, golden, filled with herbs she'd chopped fine, cheese that melted perfectly, finished with a touch of butter that made it shine. She plated it with care, adding a sprig of fresh parsley. "Here," she said, sliding the plate in front of him. He stared at it for a moment. Then he picked up the fork and took a bite. Alicia held her breath. Daniel Pierce's expression didn't change much, but she saw it, the slight widening of his eyes, the way he took another bite immediately, more enthusiastic than the first. "It's good," he said quietly. "Thank you." He took another bite, then another. "It's really good." She allowed herself a small smile. "I told you I'm a chef." He finished the omelette, set down the fork, and looked at her again. This time something had shifted. The walls were still there, but maybe a crack had appeared. "The job is Monday through Friday," he said. "Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some weeks I'll need you for weekends, too. The pay is 3 times what you're making at that diner." Alicia's breath caught. "How did you—" "I did my research." He stood, grabbed his towel. "Mrs. Howard will give you the contract details. You start Monday." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He paused at the doorway. "Oh, and Miss Carter? I don't do small talk. I don't do personal conversations. You cook, I eat, we keep things professional." "It's understood." Something about the way he said it, so firm, so final, made Alicia wonder what had happened to make him this way. "Understood," she said. He nodded and left. Alicia stood in that beautiful kitchen, her hands still trembling slightly, and wondered what exactly she'd just agreed to. Mrs. Howard appeared a moment later with a folder. "He likes you," she said, setting it on the counter. "He has a strange way of showing it." The older woman smiled sadly. "Mr. Pierce has been through a lot. He doesn't trust easily anymore, but that omelette—" She shook her head. "I haven't seen him finish a plate that fast in 2 years. "What happened to him?" Alicia asked before she could stop herself. Mrs. Howard's expression closed slightly. "That's his story to tell if he chooses. But a word of advice, dear? Don't get too close. Mr. Pierce keeps people at a distance for a reason. It's safer for everyone that way." The warning settled like a stone in Alicia's stomach. "I'm here to cook, not to get involved." "Good, keep it that way." Alicia took the contract home and read it 3 times. The salary made her dizzy. The benefits were incredible. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. So why did Mrs. Howard's warning keep echoing in her head? Monday morning, Alicia arrived at 7 sharp. The kitchen was quiet, morning light streaming through the windows. She'd spent the weekend planning menus, researching recipes, preparing to show Daniel Pierce exactly what she could do. She made breakfast first, Belgian waffles with fresh berries and real maple syrup, crispy bacon, fresh squeezed orange juice. She'd just finished plating when he walked in, fully dressed this time in a suit that probably cost more than her rent. But he looked tired, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept well. "Good morning," she said. He grunted, sat down, picked up his fork. So much for conversation. But when he took the first bite, she saw it again, that flicker of surprise, of pleasure, quickly hidden. He ate methodically, efficiently, like it was fuel rather than enjoyment, but he cleaned his plate. "Thank you," he said when he finished. Then he left for work, without another word. Alicia cleaned up, shaking her head. This was going to be interesting. The week fell into a rhythm. Alicia cooked, Daniel ate. They barely spoke. Sometimes she'd catch him watching her work, his expression unreadable. Sometimes she'd hear him on phone calls in his office, his voice cold and businesslike. He seemed to live in that suit and that carefully controlled mask. But on Friday, everything changed. She was preparing lunch, a pasta dish with homemade sauce, when he walked in early. No suit this time, just jeans and a t-shirt, his hair slightly damp like he'd just showered. "Smells good," he said. Alicia nearly dropped her spoon. 2 whole words that weren't about the food temperature or schedule. "Thank you," she managed. "It's almost ready." "What is it?" "Pappardelle with bolognese, my grandmother's recipe." He moved closer, leaning against the counter to watch. Alicia tried to ignore how aware she suddenly was of him, the way he smelled like expensive soap and something else, something clean and masculine, the way his eyes followed her hands as she stirred the sauce. "Can I try it?" he asked. She blinked. "Now?" "Yes. It's not finished yet. It needs another. I want to try it now." There was something almost playful in his tone. Was he teasing her? Alicia got a clean spoon, dipped it in the sauce, and held it out. "Be careful. It's hot." He leaned in, maintaining eye contact, and tasted it. His eyes closed briefly. "Damn," he breathed. "Good?" "Incredible." When he opened his eyes, something had changed in them. Warmth. Actual warmth. "Your grandmother must have been an amazing cook." "She was." Alicia's throat tightened. "She died 2 years ago. But every time I make this, I feel like she's right here with me." Daniel was quiet for a moment. Then, "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." They stood there, the kitchen warm and fragrant, something hanging in the air between them that felt dangerously close to connection. Then his phone buzzed. The warmth vanished from his expression like someone had flipped a switch. "I have a call," he said tersely. "Let me know when lunch is ready." And just like that, the walls were back up. Alicia stirred her sauce and told herself she was imagining things. He was her employer. This was a job, nothing more. But that night, lying in bed, she kept remembering the way he'd looked at her when he tasted her grandmother's sauce. Like maybe, just for a second, he'd forgotten to be guarded. Like maybe there was a real person under all that ice. The weekend passed slowly. Alicia cleaned her apartment, had lunch with Lydia, tried not to think about Monday, tried not to think about Daniel Pierce at all. "You're distracted," Lydia said, watching her friend push pasta around her plate. "I'm fine. Is it the job? Is he treating you okay?" "He barely talks to me," Alicia said, "which is what we agreed on. Professional distance. But nothing. It's a great job. I'm lucky to have it." Lydia didn't look convinced. "Just be careful, Alicia. Rich men like that, they're used to getting what they want. He doesn't want anything from me except good food." Lydia's expression said she knew there was more to the story, but Alicia wasn't ready to admit, even to herself, that she'd started looking forward to those brief moments when Daniel's guard slipped, when she saw glimpses of the man beneath the armor. Monday morning, she arrived to find Mrs. Howard in the kitchen looking concerned. "Is everything okay?" Alicia asked. "Mr. Pierce had a difficult weekend," the housekeeper said quietly. "His cousin Evan was here. They argued. Just be prepared. He might be more distant than usual today. More distant than barely speaking." Alicia wasn't sure that was possible, but when Daniel came down for breakfast, she understood. His jaw was tight, his movements sharp and controlled, angry or hurt, maybe both. She served him French toast, his favorite, she'd learned, and he ate it without seeming to taste it. "Thank you," he said flatly, and left. Alicia looked at Mrs. Howard. "What happened?" The older woman sighed. "Evan thinks he should have more control of the family business. He says things, cruel things about Mr. Pierce's judgment, his choices." "That's awful." "Yes, and unfortunately, Evan is coming for dinner on Friday." Mrs. Howard's expression was apologetic. "Mr. Pierce wants you to prepare something impressive. Evan likes to criticize everything, you see. It's a test." "A test." Everything with these people was a test. "I can handle it," Alicia said, more confidently than she felt. The week dragged by. Daniel was cold again, back to barely acknowledging her existence. Alicia told herself it didn't matter. She was here to cook, not to be his friend, but she'd be lying if she said it didn't sting a little. Friday arrived too quickly. Alicia spent all day preparing. Roasted duck with cherry glaze, garlic mashed potatoes, roasted vegetables, a chocolate torte for dessert. Everything perfect. Restaurant quality. She was plating the appetizers when voices drifted from the dining room. "So you finally hired a cook?" A male voice, younger than Daniel's, with a mocking edge. "What happened to that last one?" "Oh, right. She was stealing from you." "That was different." Daniel's voice was tight. "Was it? Or are you just desperate for company?" Alicia's hands stilled. "Stealing. Someone had stolen from Daniel." "Evan, I don't want to discuss this. I'm just saying, brother, you need to be careful. People see that bank account and they see opportunity, especially..." "Especially what?" A pause, then, "Nothing. Forget it." But Alicia had heard the implication, the judgment. She gripped the edge of the counter, her face hot. Mrs. Howard appeared in the doorway. "Are you ready, dear?" "Yes." Alicia's voice came out harder than she intended. She served the first course perfectly, avoiding everyone's eyes. Evan was handsome in a slick, calculated way. Expensive suit, perfect hair, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "And who do we have here?" he asked, looking Alicia up and down in a way that made her skin crawl. "This is Miss Carter," Daniel said. "My chef." "Your chef?" Evan's smile widened. "How domestic." Alicia wanted to throw the soup in his face. Instead, she returned to the kitchen. The rest of the meal was torture. She could hear Evan's voice through the door, laughing too loud, making jokes she knew were at someone's expense. Daniel barely spoke. When she brought out dessert, Evan was mid-story. "So I told her, sweetheart, you're pretty, but you're not that pretty." He laughed at his own joke. Then his eyes landed on Alicia again. "Though I must say, Daniel, your taste in staff has improved. Very easy on the eyes." The room went silent. Daniel's voice was ice. "That's enough, Evan." "What?" "I'm just saying..." "I said enough." Evan raised his hands in mock surrender. "Fine, fine. Touchy tonight, aren't we?" Alicia set down the dessert plates with trembling hands and retreated. In the kitchen, she gripped the counter, breathing hard. "Don't let him get to you," Mrs. Howard said softly. "Evan is poison. He always has been." "Does Daniel really think I'm..." Alicia couldn't finish. "Does he really think I'm just staff? Just someone hired to serve him?" "Mr. Pierce doesn't think clearly when Evan is around," Mrs. Howard said. "That man brings out the worst in everyone." Alicia cleaned up mechanically. When she heard the front door close and Evan's car drive away, some of the tension left her shoulders. She was wiping down the counters when Daniel appeared. He looked exhausted, defeated. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. Alicia didn't turn around. "For what?" "Your cousin being a jerk, not your fault. For not defending you properly, for..." He ran a hand through his hair. "Evan is right about one thing. I don't trust people easily. I've been burned before. Badly. By someone who stole from you?" His jaw tightened. "So you heard that?" "Hard not to." Daniel leaned against the doorframe. For a long moment, he just watched her work. Then, "Her name was Rachel. We were engaged. She worked for my company. Seemed perfect. Smart, beautiful, ambitious. I thought she loved me." Alicia stopped moving. "Turned out she loved my money more. She stole files, sold company secrets to our competitors, nearly destroyed everything my father built. When I confronted her, she laughed in my face, said I was easy to manipulate because I was desperate to be loved." The pain in his voice made Alicia's chest ache. "After that, I promised myself I'd never be that vulnerable again. Never let anyone close enough to hurt me like that." He looked at her directly. "So when I seem cold, distant, it's not about you, Miss Carter. It's about me protecting what's left of my ability to trust." Alicia set down her towel. "I'm not Rachel. I know. I'm here to cook, to do my job well. That's all." "I know that too." He smiled slightly. "Though I have to say, you've made this house feel different, warmer. I actually look forward to meals now, and I didn't think that was possible anymore." Their eyes met, held. Alicia felt something shift inside her, something dangerous and thrilling and terrifying all at once. "The dinner was excellent tonight," Daniel said softly. "Even Evan couldn't find anything to criticize. And that's saying something." "Thank you." "No, thank you." He pushed off the doorframe. "Good night, Miss Carter." "Good night, Mr. Pierce." After he left, Alicia stood alone in that perfect kitchen, her heart pounding. She was in trouble. Real trouble. Because somewhere between the breakfast waffles and the late-night conversations, she'd started to care. Started to see past his walls to the wounded man underneath. And caring about Daniel Pierce, she suspected, was the most dangerous thing she could do. That night, lying in her small apartment, Alicia stared at the ceiling. She thought about Daniel's confession, about Rachel's betrayal, about the way he'd looked at her. Like maybe, just maybe, he was starting to trust again. Her phone buzzed. "Lydia, how's the millionaire treating you?" Alicia typed back. "It's complicated. Uh-oh, that's never good. Details tomorrow?" "Yeah, tomorrow." But as Alicia closed her eyes, she knew the real problem wasn't Daniel. It was her. She was falling for him, and nothing good could come from that. The kitchen felt different on Monday morning. Sunlight poured through the windows, warming the marble countertops. But something else had changed, too. The air itself seemed charged, like before a storm. Alicia cracked eggs into a bowl, her hands steady even though her heart wasn't. She'd barely slept all weekend, Daniel's words replaying in her mind on an endless loop. She loved my money more, said I was easy to manipulate. How did someone recover from that kind of betrayal? She was whisking the eggs when she heard footsteps behind her. "Morning," Daniel said. Alicia turned. He was in workout clothes, gym shorts and a tank top that showed off muscular arms, still glistening with sweat. A towel hung around his neck. His dark hair was damp, curling slightly at the edges. She swallowed hard. "Morning. Breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. No rush." He grabbed a water bottle from the fridge but didn't leave. Instead, he leaned against the counter, watching her work. "What are you making?" "Scrambled eggs with chives, turkey bacon, and whole wheat toast." "Sounds healthy." "Mrs. Howard mentioned you wanted to eat cleaner this month." He smiled, actually smiled. "Ratted out by my own housekeeper. She cares about you." "I know." His expression softened. "She's been with my family since I was a kid. She's more like an aunt than an employee." Alicia folded the eggs gently, keeping them fluffy. "That must be nice, having someone who's known you that long." "It is, though it also means she knows all my embarrassing childhood stories." He took a long drink of water. "What about you? Any family nearby?" The question surprised her. He'd never asked anything personal before. "Just Lydia," Alicia said. "My best friend since high school. She's the closest thing I have to family now." "Your parents?" "My dad left when I was little. My mom passed when I was 22. The old ache flared briefly. "It was just her and me for a long time. She worked 3 jobs to put me through culinary school." Daniel's eyes darkened with sympathy. "She must have been proud of you." "She was, right up until the end." Alicia plated the food, blinking back sudden tears. "She never got to see me cook anywhere fancy, though, just diners and cafes. She'd be proud of you now, too." The simple certainty in his voice made Alicia's throat tight. She set his plate on the counter. "Here, eat before it gets cold." He sat down, took a bite, and closed his eyes. "Perfect. Just eggs." "No, not just eggs. These are clouds. You're some kind of wizard." Alicia laughed, despite herself. "A wizard? Really? I'm serious. How do you make scrambled eggs taste like this?" He took another bite. "Show me." "Show you?" "Yeah. I want to see how you do it." "You want a cooking lesson?" "Why not?" He gestured at the stove. "I live alone. I can barely make toast without burning it. Seems like a useful skill." Alicia studied him. He looked genuinely curious, almost boyish in his enthusiasm. This was a side of Daniel Pierce she'd never seen before. "Okay," she said slowly, "but you have to actually follow instructions." "I'm very good at following instructions." She didn't believe that for a second. 20 minutes later, Daniel stood at the stove with a whisk in his hand, looking completely out of place and adorably confused. "So I just stir?" he asked. "Gently," Alicia corrected, standing beside him. "You're making scrambled eggs, not beating them to death. Soft movements. Like this." She demonstrated with her own whisk. He tried to copy her, his tongue poking out slightly in concentration. The eggs started to come together, but were cooking too fast. "Lower heat," Alicia said quickly, reaching around him to adjust the burner. She was suddenly very aware of how close they were standing, how warm he was, how her arm had brushed against his. Daniel glanced down at her. "Am I hopeless?" "Not hopeless, just enthusiastic." He grinned. Actually grinned. It transformed his face completely, erasing years of hurt and making him look younger. Happy. "There," Alicia said, stepping back before she did something stupid. "Keep stirring like that. Take them off when they're still slightly wet. They'll finish cooking on the plate." He followed her instructions and surprisingly, the eggs turned out decent. Not perfect, but edible. "I did it!" He looked ridiculously proud. "You did. Now taste them." Daniel grabbed a fork and took a bite. His expression shifted from pride to disappointment. "They're okay. Just okay? Yours are better." "Well, yeah, I've been doing this for 10 years. Still," he set down his fork, "teach me something else." "Mr. Pierce, Daniel. Just Daniel when we're in the kitchen." Alicia's heart did a dangerous little flip. "Daniel, you have to go to work." He checked his watch and winced. "Damn, you're right." But he didn't move immediately. Instead, he looked at her with something like wonder. "This was fun. Can we do it again sometime? You want more cooking lessons?" "Yeah, I do." He smiled again. "Besides, it's been a long time since I actually enjoyed breakfast." He left then, grabbing his water bottle and heading upstairs to change. Alicia stood alone in the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly. That smile, that genuine, unguarded smile. She was in so much trouble. Mrs. Howard found her scrubbing the already clean counter for the 3rd time. "He seems cheerful this morning," the housekeeper observed. "We made eggs together." Mrs. Howard's eyebrows rose. "He cooked?" "Tried to, anyway. Mostly he just made a mess." "I haven't seen Mr. Pierce cook in, well, ever." The older woman studied Alicia carefully. "You're good for him, you know. He's been happier these past few weeks." Alicia's stomach twisted. "I'm just doing my job." Mrs. Howard didn't sound convinced. "Just remember what I said, dear. Don't get too close. Mr. Pierce's heart has been broken before. He might not survive it happening again. I would never... I know you wouldn't intentionally hurt him, but sometimes the worst pain comes from the best intentions." The warning hung in the air long after Mrs. Howard left. The next few days felt like something out of a dream. Daniel started coming to the kitchen more often, not just for meals but to watch her work, to ask questions, to tell her about his day. He'd show up after his morning workouts, shirtless and sweaty, stealing bites of whatever she was preparing. "That's for lunch," she'd scold. "I'm quality testing," he'd reply, grinning. Sometimes he'd help, badly but enthusiastically. He burned sauce, he overmixed dough, he cut vegetables into completely wrong shapes. But he laughed through it all, and his laughter was the most beautiful sound Alicia had ever heard. "I'm a disaster," he said Wednesday afternoon, staring at his lopsided attempt at a grilled cheese sandwich. "You're learning. I'm 29 years old. I should know how to make a sandwich. You're a millionaire. You've never needed to." He flipped the sandwich, or tried to. It fell apart completely. "Oh, come on." Alicia couldn't help it. She laughed. Actually laughed, hand over her mouth, tears in her eyes. Daniel stared at her. "Are you laughing at my pain?" "Yes." "That's cruel. That's honest." He started laughing too. Deep, real laughter that filled the kitchen. And suddenly they were both laughing so hard, Alicia had to lean against the counter for support. Okay, Daniel gasped finally. "Help me, please, before I burn down the kitchen." Alicia moved beside him, took the spatula from his hand. "Watch. Low heat. Patience. And for the love of everything, don't press down on it." "I wasn't pressing." "You were definitely pressing." He watched her flip the sandwich perfectly, golden and intact. Show off. Professional. Their eyes met, held. Daniel's smile faded into something else, something warmer, deeper, dangerous. "Alicia," he said softly. Her name. He'd never used her first name before. The moment stretched. Neither of them moved. The kitchen suddenly felt very small, very warm. Then Daniel's phone rang. He jerked back like he'd been burned, pulling it from his pocket. "I have to take this." He left quickly. Too quickly. Alicia finished making his sandwich with shaking hands. When she set it on his desk later, he thanked her without looking up from his computer. The walls were back. Thursday morning, Mrs. Howard pulled Alicia aside before breakfast. "Mr. Pierce's cousin is coming by this afternoon," she said, her expression tight. "Just wanted to warn you." Alicia's good mood evaporated. "Evan?" "Yes. He called last night, insisted on stopping by. Mr. Pierce couldn't say no without causing a scene." "Why does Evan hate him so much?" Mrs. Howard sighed. "Jealousy, mostly. Daniel inherited the majority of the family business. Evan got a smaller share and has resented it ever since. He's always trying to prove Daniel is unfit to run things." "That's awful. That's family sometimes." The housekeeper touched Alicia's arm gently. "Just stay in the kitchen this afternoon. Don't engage with him if you can help it." But staying in the kitchen didn't stop Alicia from hearing voices in the study. Loud voices. Reckless decisions left and right. Evan's voice carried through the house. Hiring random people without proper vetting. I vetted Alicia thoroughly. Daniel's voice was ice. Alicia, is it? First name basis with the help now? She's not the help. She's my chef. Oh, I'm sure that's all she is. Evan's tone dripped with insinuation. Tell me, brother, does she remind you of Rachel? Another pretty face? Another sob story? Another opportunity to play the white knight? Silence. Long and terrible. Then Daniel's voice, low and lethal. Get out. I'm just saying, get out now. Alicia heard footsteps. A door slamming. Then nothing. She should stay in the kitchen. Mrs. Howard had told her to stay in the kitchen. But something drew her toward the study. Daniel sat at his desk, head in his hands. He looked defeated, broken. Daniel, she said softly from the doorway. He looked up. His eyes were red-rimmed. You heard. I'm sorry. Don't be. Evan's poison. He always has been. Daniel stood, paced to the window. He's right, though. I don't always make good decisions. I trusted Rachel when I shouldn't have. I let my guard down, and it nearly destroyed everything. That doesn't mean you should never trust anyone again. Doesn't it? He turned to face her. How do I know who's real? Who actually cares about me versus who cares about my bank account? Alicia's heart ached for him. You can't know for sure. That's the risk of caring about people. But living behind walls, never letting anyone in, that's not living at all, that's just surviving. Daniel stared at her. When did you get so wise? My grandmother used to say that a heart that's been broken is a heart that's learned to love deeper. Alicia took a step closer. Your ex hurt you. Evan hurts you. But that doesn't mean everyone will. You sound very sure of that. I am sure. Because I know what it's like to be alone, to lose the people who matter most. And I know that the risk of pain is worth the chance of connection. Something shifted in Daniel's expression. He crossed the room in 3 long strides and stopped right in front of her. Alicia, he said, and her name sounded like a prayer. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel the intensity of his gaze, the heat radiating from his body, the way her heart was hammering against her ribs. He started. Mrs. Howard's voice echoed from the hallway. Mr. Pierce, your conference call starts in 5 minutes. The spell broke. Daniel stepped back, running a hand through his hair. Thank you. I'll be right there. He looked at Alicia one more time, something unspoken passing between them. Then he left. Alicia stood alone in the study, her whole body trembling. Something had changed, something irreversible, and she had no idea what to do about it. Friday arrived with dark clouds and the promise of rain. Alicia felt restless all morning, like her skin was too tight. She made Daniel's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes, but he barely ate, lost in thought. Everything okay? She asked. Just thinking. About? He looked at her. Things I shouldn't be thinking about. Her pulse quickened. Daniel, the weather report says we might lose power tonight, he interrupted, standing abruptly. Storm's supposed to be bad. You should probably head home early. I don't want you driving in it. I can handle a little rain. Alicia, his voice was firm but gentle. Please, for my peace of mind. The way he said it, like he actually cared about her safety, made her chest warm. Okay, she agreed. I'll prep dinner before I go. You can heat it up yourself. I'll try not to burn the house down. She smiled despite the strange tension between them. I have faith in you. But Alicia didn't leave early. She got caught up in preparing a complicated dish, beef bourguignon that needed hours of slow cooking, and by the time she looked at the clock, it was already 4. The sky outside had gone dark. Wind rattled the windows. The first drops of rain splattered against the glass like thrown pebbles. You're still here, Daniel said, appearing in the doorway. He'd changed into jeans and a soft grey sweater that made his eyes even bluer. Lost track of time. I'm sorry. Don't be. He looked outside. But you should go now before it gets worse. As if on cue, lightning flashed. Thunder rolled across the sky so loud it shook the house. The lights flickered again, then went out completely. In the sudden darkness, Alicia heard Daniel curse softly. Stay there, he said. I'll find a flashlight. She heard him moving through the kitchen, opening drawers. A beam of light cut through the shadows. Got it, he said. His face looked ghostly in the flashlight's glow. I have a generator, but it'll take a few minutes to kick in. More lightning, more thunder. Rain lashed against the windows like it was trying to break through. You can't drive in this, Daniel said firmly. I'll wait it out. It'll pass. The weather report said this storm will last hours. He set the flashlight on the counter, casting eerie shadows across the walls. You'll have to stay. Alicia's heart skipped. Stay? We have plenty of guest rooms. You'll be safe here. Safe. That was a funny word, because standing in the dark with Daniel Pierce, Alicia felt anything but safe. She felt like she was balanced on the edge of something vast and terrifying. Okay, she whispered. The generator hummed to life, but only a few lights came on. Enough to see by, but the house still felt dim and intimate. Daniel found candles and lit them, placing them around the kitchen. Might as well eat, he said. What's for dinner? Beef bourguignon, but it needs another hour. So we wait. He grabbed 2 wine glasses from the cabinet. Want some wine? Alicia knew she should say no, should keep this professional, should not sit in candlelight drinking wine with her employer. Sure, she heard herself say. They sat at the kitchen island, rain drumming against the roof, candlelight dancing across their faces. Daniel poured deep red wine into both glasses. 2 unexpected storms, he said, raising his glass. 2 unexpected storms, Alicia echoed. The wine was rich and warming. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, just listening to the rain. Can I ask you something? Daniel said finally. Sure. Why cooking? What made you want to be a chef? Alicia smiled, remembering. My grandmother. She raised me after my dad left, and every Sunday we'd cook together. Elaborate meals that took all day. She'd tell me stories about her own grandmother, recipes passed down for generations. Food was how she showed love, how she connected with people, and I wanted to do that too, make people feel cared for, even if just for one meal. Daniel listened intently. That's beautiful. What about you? Why business? Why follow in your father's footsteps? His expression clouded. Honestly, I'm not sure I had a choice. My father built this empire, and I was expected to continue it. Sometimes I wonder what I would have done if the decision had been mine. It's never too late to choose differently. Maybe. He took a long drink of wine. But some choices feel impossible once you're already on the path. Thunder crashed overhead. The candles guttered in some unfelt draft. Dance with me, Daniel said suddenly. Alicia blinked. What? Dance with me. Right here. He stood, held out his hand. No music, just rain. Come on. Daniel, please. There was something almost desperate in his eyes. Like he needed this. Needed her. Alicia took his hand. He pulled her close. Not inappropriately close, but close enough that she could feel his warmth, smell his cologne, hear his breathing. They swayed slowly in the candlelit kitchen, rain providing percussion, their shadows moving on the walls. This is crazy, Alicia whispered. I know. You're my boss. I know that too. Then why? Because I can't stop thinking about you. The words came out raw, honest. Ever since that first omelette, you've been in my head. The way you move in the kitchen like you're dancing. The way you taste things with your eyes closed. The way you talk about your grandmother like she's still here. He pulled back slightly to look at her. You make me feel things I swore I'd never feel again. Alicia's breath caught. Daniel, I know I'm broken. I know I have trust issues and baggage and a toxic family. I know you deserve better. But God, Alicia, when I'm with you, I feel like maybe I could be whole again. Like maybe it's worth the risk. She should pull away. Should remind him about professional boundaries. Should protect them both from this dangerous thing building between them. Instead, she leaned closer. I'm scared, she admitted. Me too. This could ruin everything. I know, but I can't stop thinking about you either. His eyes darkened. Alicia, the timer went off, loud and shrill, shattering the moment. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Alicia rushed to check the beef bourguignon, her hands shaking so badly she almost dropped the pot. It's ready, she said, her voice barely steady. Good. Great. I'm starving. Daniel's voice was too bright, too forced. They ate in awkward silence. The food was perfect, tender and rich and flavorful, but Alicia couldn't taste it. All she could think about was the feel of Daniel's arms around her, the heat in his eyes, the way he'd said her name. After dinner, Daniel showed her to a guest room, spacious and elegant, with a 4-poster bed and windows that overlooked the grounds. If you need anything, he said from the doorway. My room is down the hall. Thank you. He hesitated. Alicia, about earlier, we don't have to talk about it. I think we do. She turned to face him. What is there to say? We both got caught up in the moment. The storm, the wine, the candlelight. It doesn't mean anything, doesn't it? Daniel, please. This is already complicated enough. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. You're right, I'm sorry. Good night, Alicia. Good night. He left, closing the door softly behind him. Alicia sat on the edge of the bed, her heart racing. She'd lied. It did mean something, everything maybe, and that terrified her more than anything else in the world. Alicia didn't sleep. She lay in the too-soft bed listening to rain and thunder, replaying every moment of the evening. The wine, the dancing, the confession. When I'm with you, I feel like maybe I could be whole again. Around 2 in the morning, she gave up on sleep and wandered downstairs. The kitchen was dark except for one small light over the stove, and Daniel was there, sitting at the island with a glass of water, looking as exhausted as she felt. Couldn't sleep either, he asked. No. Want some tea? I promise I won't burn it, despite everything. She smiled. Okay. He made tea, only slightly wrong, and they sat together in the quiet kitchen. Outside, the storm had calmed to a steady rain. I meant what I said earlier, Daniel said quietly, about how you make me feel. I know it's unfair to you. I know I'm your employer and this crosses every line, but I can't keep pretending there's nothing between us. Alicia wrapped her hands around her mug. What do you want me to say? The truth. She took a deep breath. The truth is you scare me. Not because you're broken or damaged or any of that, because you make me want things I can't have, a life I can't afford to dream about. You're a millionaire, Daniel. I'm your cook. This, whatever this is, it can't work. Why not? Because people like Evan will always see me as the help. Because your world and my world don't mix. Because when this ends, and it will end, I'll lose my job, my heart, and my dignity all at once. Daniel set down his mug. What if it doesn't end? What if this is real? You said yourself you don't trust easily. What happens when doubt creeps in? When you start wondering if I'm another Rachel? When Evan whispers poison in your ear? I would never... You don't know that. Neither of us does. Alicia blinked back tears. I can't risk my heart on what if, Daniel. I've lost too much already. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, Daniel nodded. You're right. I'm sorry. This was selfish of me. He stood to leave. Daniel. Alicia's voice stopped him. He turned. For what it's worth. She met his eyes. If things were different, if we were different people, I think I could love you. Really love you. Something broke in his expression. Alicia, but we're not different people. We're exactly who we are. And that has to be enough. He left without another word. Alicia sat alone in the kitchen until dawn, crying silent tears for something that could never be. By morning, the storm had passed. Alicia made breakfast, pancakes again because she knew he loved them, but Daniel didn't come down. Mrs. Howard appeared instead. Mr. Pierce had an early meeting, she said gently. He asked me to give you this. She handed Alicia an envelope. Inside was a check, far more than her usual salary, and a note in Daniel's neat handwriting. Thank you for staying during the storm. Take the weekend off. You've earned it. D. That was it. No mention of last night. No acknowledgement of everything that had almost happened between them. Just a check and a dismissal. Alicia drove home with tears streaming down her face, knowing that something precious had ended before it ever really began. And the worst part? She had no one to blame but herself. Monday morning felt like walking into a stranger's house. Alicia stood in the kitchen, the same kitchen where she'd danced with Daniel, where they'd laughed over burned grilled cheese, where he'd confessed he couldn't stop thinking about her, and it felt hollow, empty. She'd spent the entire weekend at Lydia's apartment, crying into ice cream and trying to explain what had happened without fully explaining anything. So let me get this straight, Lydia had said, confusion clear on her face. You like him. He likes you. But you're not going to do anything about it? It's not that simple. It sounds exactly that simple. He's my boss, Lydia, a millionaire with family issues and trust problems. I'm a cook from the South Side who can barely afford rent. We're from different worlds. Since when do you care about that stuff? Lydia had challenged. The Alicia I know doesn't back down from something real just because it's complicated. But Lydia didn't understand. She hadn't seen the look in Daniel's eyes when he talked about Rachel's betrayal, hadn't heard the venom in Evan's voice, hadn't felt the weight of all those differences pressing down like stones. Now, cracking eggs into a bowl, Alicia told herself she'd made the right choice, the smart choice, the safe choice, even if it felt like her heart was breaking. She was whisking when she heard footsteps. Her whole body tensed. Morning. Daniel's voice was carefully neutral. Morning. She didn't turn around. How was your weekend? Fine. Yours? Fine. The conversation felt like stepping on glass. Every word measured, cautious, designed not to cut. Breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes, Alicia said. Thank you. He left. Alicia's hands shook as she poured the eggs into the pan. This was how it would be now. Polite, Professional. Distant. Exactly what she'd said she wanted. So why did it hurt so much? The week crawled by like something wounded. Daniel stopped coming to the kitchen between meals, stopped asking questions about the food, stopped lingering to watch her work. He ate quickly and left, barely meeting her eyes. Mrs. Howard noticed. Of course she noticed. Did something happen? She asked Wednesday afternoon, folding linens with practiced efficiency. What do you mean? Mr. Pierce is different, sadder somehow, and you look like you haven't slept in days. Alicia focused on chopping vegetables. Everything's fine. Child, I've known Mr. Pierce since he was in diapers. I know when something's wrong. Mrs. Howard's voice softened. I also know he cares about you. More than he should, probably. More than is safe for someone with his history. That's why we're keeping things professional. Professional. The older woman made a sound that wasn't quite agreement. Sometimes professional is just another word for afraid. Before Alicia could respond, raised voices echoed from the study. Absolutely reckless. Evan's voice sharp with anger. Do you have any idea what the board is saying? I don't care what the board says. Daniel sounded exhausted. Of course you don't. You never do. Just like father, making decisions with your heart instead of your head. This has nothing to do with father, doesn't it? He fell for the wrong woman too. Nearly destroyed the company trying to prove she was worth it. Silence. Then Daniel's voice, dangerously quiet. Get out, Evan. I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to control me. Like always, like you've done since we were kids, but I'm not a child anymore and I don't answer to you. You'll regret this. Evan's footsteps stormed toward the front door. When she breaks your heart, and she will, don't come crying to me. The door slammed. Alicia stood frozen in the kitchen, her knife suspended over a carrot. Mrs. Howard shook her head sadly. That boy is poison. What did he mean about Daniel's father? The housekeeper hesitated. That's not my story to tell, but let's just say Daniel comes by his trust issues honestly. His father loved unwisely and paid dearly for it. Before Alicia could ask more, Daniel appeared in the doorway. He looked wrecked, hair disheveled, tie loosened, eyes red-rimmed. I need a drink, he muttered, heading for the liquor cabinet. Mr. Pierce, it's 2 in the afternoon. Mrs. Howard started. I don't care. He poured whiskey into a glass, downed it in one swallow, poured another. Alicia watched, her chest aching. Daniel, she said softly. He looked at her, really looked at her for the first time all week. Don't what? Don't look at me like that. Like you care. We agreed, remember? Professional distance. That doesn't mean I want to see you hurting. He laughed bitterly. Hurting? That's one word for it. He set down the glass. Evan's right, you know. I make terrible decisions. Fall for the wrong people. Trust when I shouldn't. Daniel, I'm going out. He grabbed his jacket. Don't wait dinner for me. He left through the side door. Alicia heard his car start, tires crunching on gravel as he drove away too fast. Should someone go after him? She asked Mrs. Howard. No, dear, he needs to work through this himself. He always has. But that night, when dinner time came and went with no sign of Daniel, Alicia couldn't stop worrying. She texted him, breaking her own rule about keeping things professional. Are you okay? No response. She made his favorite comfort food, mac and cheese, not the boxed kind, but the real deal with 3 cheeses and a crispy breadcrumb topping, and kept it warm. 10 o'clock came, then 11, then midnight. At 1 in the morning she heard the front door open. Unsteady footsteps. Something crashing in the hallway. Alicia rushed out of the kitchen to find Daniel leaning against the wall, clearly drunk. His shirt was untucked, his hair a mess, and he smelled like whiskey and rain. Alicia, he said, her name slurring slightly. You're still here. Where else would I be? Thought you'd leave. Everyone leaves eventually. Her heart cracked. Come on, let's get you to bed. She put his arm around her shoulders, supporting his weight as they climbed the stairs. He was heavier than he looked, all muscle and height, and she struggled with each step. You smell good, he mumbled. Always smell good like vanilla and cinnamon. That's just cooking. No, that's you. He stumbled, nearly taking them both down. Sorry, I'm not usually like this. I know. They made it to his bedroom, a space she'd never seen before. It was surprisingly simple. A large bed, dark furniture, windows overlooking the grounds, photos on the dresser of a younger Daniel with an older man who must have been his father. Alicia helped him sit on the bed. He looked up at her with unfocused eyes. I tried to stop thinking about you, he said. Didn't work. Daniel, you're drunk. You should sleep. Always sleeping. Always running. Never staying. He caught her hand. Don't go. Please, just stay for a minute. She should leave. should let him sleep it off alone, should maintain those boundaries she'd insisted on. Instead, she sat beside him on the bed. Evan said, "I'm just like my father," Daniel said, staring at their joined hands. He fell in love with someone from a different world, someone the family didn't approve of. He fought for her, gave up everything for her. And you know what happened? What? She left anyway, took half his fortune and his heart with her. He was never the same after that. Died bitter and alone, convinced he'd wasted his life on someone who never really loved him. Daniel's voice broke. I swore I'd never be that stupid, never let someone have that kind of power over me. But then you walked into my kitchen and everything I promised myself just vanished. Tears burned Alicia's eyes. Daniel, I know you think we're too different, that it won't work, that I'll end up hurt like my father. He looked at her, and despite the alcohol, his gaze was clear, intense. But what if you're wrong? What if we could be the exception? There are no exceptions to this story, Alicia whispered. You said it yourself. Your father gave up everything, and it destroyed him. I won't let that happen to you. I won't be the person who breaks you. What if I'm already broken? Then I won't be the person who makes it worse. She tried to stand, but he held her hand tighter. One thing, he said. Let me have one thing before we go back to pretending there's nothing between us. What? A kiss, just one. So I know it was real. So I know I didn't imagine everything. Alicia's breath caught. Daniel, you're drunk. I'm drunk enough to be honest, not drunk enough to not mean this. He cupped her face with his free hand. Please, Alicia, just one kiss. Then I'll let you go. I promise. She should say no, should pull away, should protect them both from this mistake. But she'd been thinking about kissing him since that night in the storm, since the moment he'd pulled her close and danced with her in candlelight. Okay, she breathed. One kiss. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind, but she didn't, couldn't. Their lips met softly, gently, like something precious and fragile that might break if handled too roughly. And oh God, it was everything. Daniel's hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss. He tasted like whiskey and mint and something indefinably him. Alicia's hands found his chest, feeling his heart racing beneath her palms. The kiss grew hungrier, more desperate. Years of loneliness and longing poured into it from both sides. Then Daniel pulled back, resting his forehead against hers. I lied, he whispered. About what? One kiss isn't enough. It'll never be enough. Alicia's eyes filled with tears. I know. She eased him back onto the bed, helped him get his shoes off. Within minutes he was asleep, his breathing deep and even. She stood there for a long moment, just watching him. In sleep, his face looked younger, peaceful. The lines of stress and pain smoothed away. I'm sorry, she whispered, though he couldn't hear. I'm so sorry. Then she left, closing the door softly behind her. Alicia called in sick the next morning. She couldn't face Daniel, couldn't pretend that kiss hadn't changed everything. She lay in her apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment, the feel of his lips on hers, the way he'd held her like she was something precious. The brokenness in his voice when he talked about his father. Her phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Howard. Mr. Pierce is asking for you. Are you all right? Just a migraine. I'll be better tomorrow. He seems very worried. I've never seen him like this. Guilt twisted in Alicia's stomach, but she couldn't go back, not yet. Not until she figured out what she wanted. Another text, this time from an unknown number. Alicia, it's Daniel. I got your number from your employment file. I hope that's okay. Mrs. Howard said you're sick. Do you need anything? A doctor? Medicine? Please let me know. Her hands shook as she read it. Even through text, she could hear his concern. I'm fine. Just need rest. Thank you. I'm sorry about last night. I was drunk and out of line. It won't happen again. Her heart sank. He was apologizing, trying to take it back. It's fine. We can talk when I'm back. Whenever you're ready. No pressure. But there was pressure. So much pressure. Between what she wanted and what was smart. Between the risk of love and the safety of distance. Lydia showed up at noon with soup and suspicious eyes. You're not sick, she said, setting the container on the counter. I have a migraine. You have feelings. There's a difference. Lydia sat beside her on the couch. What happened? So Alicia told her. Everything. The storm, the confession, the awful week of distance, Evan's visit, Daniel coming home drunk, the kiss. Girl, Lydia said when she finished, you kissed him? He asked me to. And you said yes because I'm an idiot. No, Lydia grabbed her hands. You said yes because you have feelings for him, real feelings. And that scares you. Of course it scares me. Lydia, his father fell for someone like me and it destroyed him. His ex used him for his money. His family hates anyone who gets close to him. How is this supposed to work? Maybe it's not supposed to work. Maybe you just have to make it work. Lydia squeezed her hands. Look, I know you're scared. You've lost so much. Your dad, your mom, your grandmother. You don't want to risk losing someone else. But Alicia, living in fear isn't living. It's just existing. What if he ends up hating me? What if he doesn't? What if this is the real thing? Are you really going to walk away without even trying? Alicia pulled her hands free, wiping at her eyes. It's not just about me. I don't want to hurt him. He's been through enough. Then talk to him. Tell him what you're feeling. Let him decide if the risk is worth it. Lydia's voice softened. You deserve to be happy, Alicia. And from everything you've told me, he deserves it too. Friday morning, Alicia returned to work. Her stomach churned with nerves as she let herself into the kitchen. Daniel was already there, fully dressed in a suit, drinking coffee at the island. He looked up when she entered, and something complicated crossed his face. You're back, he said. I'm back. Awkward silence stretched between them. About Tuesday night, he started. Daniel, we need to talk. I know. I'm sorry. I had no right to ask you to kiss me. I was drunk and emotional and completely out of line. It won't happen again. What if I want it to happen again? He went very still. What? Alicia took a shaky breath. I've been thinking all week. About us. About why I'm so scared. And I realized something. I'm not afraid of you hurting me. I'm afraid of me hurting you. Alicia, let me finish. Please. She moved closer. Your father fell for the wrong woman. Your ex betrayed you. Evan fills your head with poison about people's motives. And I thought the kindest thing I could do was keep my distance. Keep things professional. Keep you safe from another heartbreak. But that kiss. Her voice broke. That kiss made me realize I'm not protecting you by staying away. I'm just making us both miserable. And maybe Lydia's right. Maybe some things are worth the risk. Daniel set down his coffee cup carefully. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't know if this will work. I don't know if we can overcome all the differences and the doubts and the family drama. But I know that She swallowed hard. I think I'm falling in love with you. And I'm tired of pretending I'm not. For a long moment, Daniel just stared at her. Then he closed the distance between them in 2 steps and kissed her. This kiss wasn't gentle. It was hungry, desperate, full of all the longing they'd been suppressing. Alicia's back hit the counter as Daniel's hands framed her face and she kissed him back with everything she had. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. I'm falling in love with you too, he said. I've been falling since that first omelette, and I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of living without you. Alicia laughed through tears. We're a mess. The best kind of mess. He kissed her again, softer this time. So, what do we do now? We try. We take it slow. We figure it out together. Together, he repeated, like he was testing the word. I liked the sound of that. They stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, and for the first time in weeks, Alicia felt like she could breathe. But their peace didn't last long. The sound of footsteps made them spring apart. Mrs. Howard appeared in the doorway, took one look at them, and smiled knowingly. About time, she said. Alicia's face burned. Mrs. Howard, oh hush, child. I've had eyes in my head for 60 years. I knew this was coming. She looked at Daniel. You're happy? Yes. And you? She asked Alicia. Yes. Then that's all that matters to me. She bustled toward the pantry. Though I suggest you two figure out how to handle Mr. Evan before he catches wind of this. That boy will cause trouble. Daniel's expression darkened. Let him try. I'm serious, Mr. Pierce. He's been looking for ammunition to use against you with the board. A relationship with your employee, however genuine, will give him exactly what he needs. The words hit like cold water. Alicia stepped back. She's right. Daniel, this could hurt you professionally. I don't care. You should care. This is your father's company. Your legacy. My father's legacy got him killed inside long before his body gave up. Daniel's voice was firm. I won't make his mistakes, Alicia. I won't choose a company over the person I love. You just said you're falling in love. We don't know if... I know. He took her hands. I know this is real. I know you're worth any price. And I know I'm not letting Evan's poison or the board's opinions or anyone else's judgment tell me how to live my life. Mrs. Howard made a satisfied sound. Well said, Mr. Pierce. But we need to be smart about this, Alicia insisted. Can we keep it quiet? Just for a little while, until we figure out how to handle everything? Daniel looked like he wanted to argue, but finally nodded. Okay, but Alicia, I'm not ashamed of you. I'm not ashamed of us. I just want to protect you from the ugliness that comes with my world. I can handle ugly. I know you can, but I'd rather shield you from it anyway. He kissed her forehead, then reluctantly stepped back. I have meetings all day, but tonight will you have dinner with me? A real dinner, just us, in the dining room, not the kitchen. Are you asking me on a date? I'm asking the woman I'm falling in love with if she'll let me wine and dine her properly. So yes, a date. Alicia's smile felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. Okay, yes, a date. After he left, Mrs. Howard chuckled. That boy has it bad. Is that a good thing? For him? Yes, for you. The older woman's expression turned serious. Just be prepared, dear. Loving someone like Mr. Pierce means dealing with everything that comes with his world. The scrutiny, the judgment, the people who'll say you're only with him for money. It won't be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. True enough. Mrs. Howard patted her shoulder. But for what it's worth, I think you're exactly what he needs. Someone real. Someone who sees him, not just his bank account. I do see him, Alicia said softly. All of him. The broken parts and the beautiful parts and everything in between. Then you'll do just fine. That evening, Alicia cooked the most important meal of her life. Not because Daniel was her employer, or even because he was wealthy, but because she was cooking for someone she loved. Someone who'd seen her at her most vulnerable and hadn't turned away. She made coq au vin, a dish that required patience, skill, and time. Tender chicken in rich wine sauce, perfectly roasted vegetables, crusty bread still warm from the oven. For dessert, chocolate lava cakes that oozed when broken open. Daniel emerged from his office at 7, showered and changed into dark jeans and a button-down shirt that made his eyes look impossibly blue. You look beautiful, he said. Alicia glanced down at her chef's whites. I'm literally in my work uniform. I know. You're still beautiful. Her cheeks warmed. Smooth talker. Honest talker. She served dinner in the formal dining room, which suddenly felt too big, too formal. But Daniel pulled out her chair like she was royalty, and when he sat across from her, his eyes never left her face. This is incredible, he said after his first bite, but everything you make is incredible. You're biased. I'm honest. There's a difference. He reached across the table, took her hand. Thank you for giving us a chance, for not letting fear win. Thank you for being patient with me, for understanding why I was scared. They ate slowly, talking about everything and nothing. Daniel told her about his childhood, about growing up in this big house with parents who loved fiercely, but not always wisely. Alicia told him about her mother's final days, about promises made and dreams deferred. For the first time, they weren't employer and employee. They were just two people, falling in love over good food and honest conversation. But as the evening wore on, reality crept back in. We have to tell Mrs. Howard to be discreet, Daniel said. Not because I'm ashamed. I know. Because of Evan. He's been watching me like a hawk, looking for any mistake he can report to the board. A relationship with you isn't a mistake, but he'll spin it that way. What if he finds out anyway? Then we deal with it. Daniel's jaw set with determination. Together. That word again, together. It still sounded like a promise, like hope. They were clearing dishes when Daniel's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and cursed softly. It's Evan. I have to take this. He answered with clear reluctance. What do you want? Alicia couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but she watched Daniel's expression darken with each passing second. That's none of your business, he said coldly. I don't care what you think you saw. Stay out of my personal life, Evan. He hung up, his hand shaking slightly. What did he say? Alicia asked, dread pooling in her stomach. He drove by earlier, saw my car in the driveway, lights on in the dining room. He's suspicious. Daniel pulled her close. He's going to start digging, Alicia, looking for proof that something's going on between us. Then maybe we should cool things off, just until... No. His arms tightened around her. I'm not hiding you. I'm not pretending there's nothing between us just because Evan's a jealous snake. But the company will survive. My father built something strong. Evan can't destroy it just because he wants to. Daniel pulled back to look at her. But I need to know you're with me. Really with me. Because once Evan starts his campaign against us, it's going to get ugly. Alicia thought about Mrs. Howard's warning, about the scrutiny and judgment ahead, about all the ways this could go wrong. Then she thought about Daniel's kiss, his laugh in the kitchen, the way he'd looked at her like she was the most important thing in his world. I'm with you, she said. No matter what comes. His smile was brilliant. Relieved. Yeah? Yeah. He kissed her then, long and deep and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, something had shifted between them. They'd made their choice. Together. Now they just had to hope it was enough. The next 2 weeks were the happiest of Alicia's life, and the most terrifying. Daniel kept his word about not hiding their relationship, at least not from the people who mattered. Mrs. Howard knew, of course, and she'd become an unexpected ally. She'd cover for them when Daniel came to the kitchen between meetings to steal kisses. She'd smile knowingly when they lingered over dinner, talking for hours. She'd even started leaving earlier in the evenings, giving them privacy. "You're good for him," she told Alicia one afternoon. "I haven't seen him this alive in years." But outside the mansion's walls, they were still careful. No public outings, no photographs, nothing that Evan could use as ammunition. It was exhausting, living in 2 worlds at once. "Come here," Daniel said one morning, catching Alicia as she passed by with a tray of fresh pastries. He pulled her close, nuzzling her neck. "You smell like cinnamon." "I've been baking," she laughed, trying to wiggle free. "Daniel, I have work. Work can wait." He kissed her jaw. "I missed you. You saw me 2 hours ago at breakfast. 2 hours too long." She melted against him, her protests dying. This was what scared her most. Not the outside world's judgment, but how much she needed him, how quickly he'd become essential, like air or water or sunlight. "I'm falling too fast," she whispered against his chest. "Me too." His arms tightened. "Is that bad?" "I don't know." "Maybe. Probably. Helpful." But his voice was amused. They stood there, wrapped in each other, the kitchen warm and fragrant around them. These stolen moments, they were everything. But Alicia couldn't shake the feeling that they were living on borrowed time. The bomb dropped on a Thursday. Alicia was preparing lunch when her phone exploded with notifications. Text after text, mostly from numbers she didn't recognize. Her Instagram, which she rarely checked, had hundreds of new followers and dozens of messages. "What the hell?" she muttered, opening the app. Her blood turned to ice. Someone had posted a photo, grainy but clear enough. Daniel and Alicia in the kitchen, his arms around her waist, her face tilted up to his. The caption read, "Millionaire Daniel Pierce's secret romance with his cook. Sources say staff relationship violates company policy." The photo had been shared thousands of times. The comments were brutal. "Gold digger. She's pretty, but come on, it's obviously about the money. Another Rachel situation waiting to happen. He needs to fire her before she steals everything." Alicia's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the phone. "No, no, no," she breathed. Mrs. Howard rushed into the kitchen, her face pale. "Have you seen—" "Yes." Alicia's voice came out strangled. "How did this happen? We were so careful." "Evan." Mrs. Howard's expression turned murderous. "He must have hired someone to watch the house. I should have seen this coming." Daniel burst through the side door, his phone in his hand, his expression thunderous. "Alicia," she couldn't look at him, couldn't face the concern in his eyes when her entire world was collapsing. "I have to go," she said, already pulling off her apron. "What?" "No, Alicia, we need to talk about this." "Talk about what? How your cousin was right? How I'm just another scandal waiting to ruin you?" Her voice cracked. "Look at those comments, Daniel. Look at what people are saying about me, about us. I don't care what they say." "Well, I do." The words burst out of her, sharp and painful. "I care that people think I'm using you, that I'm some kind of opportunist who seduced her boss for a paycheck. I care that your company's board is probably calling emergency meetings right now to discuss the liability. I care that Evan gets to be right about me." Daniel reached for her, but she stepped back. "Please don't. I need to think. Alicia, if you leave now, Evan wins. He gets exactly what he wants. Us apart, you gone, me alone and miserable. Maybe Evan's right to win." She grabbed her purse with trembling hands. "Maybe this was a mistake from the beginning. Maybe I should have kept my distance like I planned. Maybe—" "Don't." Daniel's voice turned hard. "Don't do this. Don't run because you're scared." "I'm not running. I'm being realistic. Look at that photo, Daniel. Look at those comments. This is what your life will be like with me. Constant scrutiny, constant judgment. People questioning your decisions, your integrity, your sanity for being with someone like me. Someone like you. You mean someone kind, talented, genuine, and real? Yeah, what a terrible burden. You know what I mean. I know you're letting fear make your decisions. I know you're doing exactly what you swore you wouldn't do, giving up before we even fight." He moved closer, his eyes blazing. I love you, Alicia. I'm in love with you, and I'm not ashamed of that, no matter what some random trolls on the internet say. The words should have made her soar. Instead, they felt like stones dragging her down. You love me now, she whispered. But what about when the board demands you choose between me and the company? What about when Evan produces evidence that I'm stealing from you? What about when you start wondering if maybe everyone's right about my motives? That will never happen. You don't know that. Your father thought he knew too, and look how that ended. Daniel flinched like she'd slapped him. That's not fair. None of this is fair. Tears streamed down Alicia's face. But I won't be the person who destroys you. I won't be another Rachel. I won't be the mistake your family talks about for years. I care about you too much for that. If you cared about me, you'd stay. The words hung between them, sharp and accusing. Alicia grabbed her keys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I can't do this. She ran, out of the kitchen, through the house to her car. Behind her, she heard Daniel calling her name, but she didn't stop, couldn't stop. She drove home with tears blurring her vision, her heart shattering into 1,000 pieces. Lydia showed up an hour later, letting herself in with her spare key. She found Alicia curled on the couch, eyes red and swollen, phone turned off to avoid the endless notifications. Oh, honey, Lydia said, sitting beside her. I saw the photo. Everyone saw the photo. That's the problem. What did Daniel say? That he loves me, that he wants to fight for us, that I'm running away. Are you? Alicia sat up, anger flashing. Don't take his side. I'm not taking anyone's side. I'm asking if you're running away or making a smart decision. There's a difference. I'm protecting him. From what? Happiness? Love? Or from the possibility that he might actually choose you over everything else? The words hit too close. Alicia pulled her knees to her chest. You didn't see those comments, Lydia. People calling me a gold digger, a user, a manipulative. People on the internet are cruel. That doesn't make them right. But what if they are? What if I am making his life harder? What if the board forces him to choose and he picks me and regrets it later? Lydia grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. You can't live your life based on what-ifs. You can't protect everyone from every possible pain. Sometimes you just have to trust that love is strong enough to weather the storms. His father's love wasn't strong enough. Daniel isn't his father, and you're not whoever broke that man's heart. Lydia's voice softened. But you are breaking Daniel's heart right now. You know that, right? Fresh tears spilled down Alicia's cheeks. I don't know what else to do. You fight. You trust. You believe that what you have is worth the cost. Lydia pulled her into a hug. Or you let fear win and spend the rest of your life wondering what might have been. Daniel didn't call, didn't text, didn't show up at her apartment demanding to talk. The silence was somehow worse than anything else. 3 days passed, then 5, then a week. Alicia stayed in her apartment, avoiding social media, avoiding the world. She'd quit her job, sent a formal resignation email to Mrs. Howard, citing personal reasons. The housekeeper had responded with a single line, "You're making a mistake, dear." Maybe she was, but it was her mistake to make. On day 9, Lydia showed up with coffee and determination. "Get dressed," she ordered. "I'm fine here." "You're not fine, you're hiding, and it's time to stop." Lydia threw open the curtains, letting harsh sunlight flood the dim apartment. "Do you know what Daniel's been doing while you've been wallowing?" "I don't want to know." "Too bad. He went public, held a press conference, told everyone that yes, he's in a relationship with you, that you're the most genuine person he's ever met, that anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with him directly." Alicia's breath caught. "He what?" "It's all over the news. Here." Lydia pulled up a video on her phone. Daniel stood behind a podium, cameras flashing, looking exhausted but determined. His voice was steady as he spoke. "I'm here today to address recent speculation about my personal life. Yes, I'm in a relationship with Alicia Carter, who until recently worked as my private chef. And no, I don't care what anyone thinks about it. Alicia is kind, talented, and genuine. She's seen me at my worst and somehow still cares. She's not with me for my money or status. In fact, she's run away twice because she's terrified of how people will judge her. If anything, I'm the lucky one in this equation. So to everyone saying she's using me, I say this: you don't know her, you don't know us, and your opinions mean nothing compared to what we have together." The video cut off. Alicia stared at the screen, her heart pounding. "He said all that," she whispered, "in front of dozens of reporters. It's been viewed millions of times." Lydia sat beside her. "He also resigned from the board, told them that if they had a problem with his relationship, They could find a new CEO. Evan tried to stage some kind of coup, but the board voted to support Daniel instead. Apparently they care more about his leadership than his love life. Alicia couldn't breathe. He resigned. He was willing to for you, that's how much you mean to him. Lydia squeezed her hand. So I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you protecting him, or are you protecting yourself? The question echoed in Alicia's chest. She thought about Daniel's confession that first night, how Rachel's betrayal had broken him, how he'd sworn never to be vulnerable again, how loving her had been an act of incredible courage, and she'd run. Left him standing in that kitchen alone and hurting, because she was afraid. Not afraid of people's judgment. Not really. Afraid of losing him. Afraid of loving him so much that his loss would destroy her. Afraid of being happy because happiness, in her experience, never lasted. I'm protecting myself, she admitted, her voice breaking. I'm a coward. No, you're human. You're scared. But being scared doesn't mean you have to stay scared. Lydia stood, pulling Alicia up with her. Now get dressed. We're going to fix this. What if he doesn't want to see me? Then at least you'll know you tried. That's better than spending your life wondering. The mansion gates were closed when Alicia arrived that evening. She pressed the intercom with shaking hands. Name? The security guard's voice was professional but not unfriendly. Alicia Carter. I'm here to see Daniel. Mr. Pierce. A long pause. One moment. She waited, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. What if he turned her away? What if she'd hurt him too badly? What if... The gates swung open. Alicia drove up the familiar driveway, past the fountains and rose gardens, to the mansion that had become home. Her hands trembled as she parked and walked to the front door. Mrs. Howard opened it before she could knock. About time, the housekeeper said, but her eyes were kind. He's in the kitchen. Is he okay? See for yourself. Alicia walked through the house on legs that felt like water. Every step closer to the kitchen, her heart beat faster. What would she say? How could she explain? She pushed open the door. Daniel stood at the stove, attempting to make scrambled eggs. His back was to her, shoulders tense, movements jerky and frustrated. The eggs were already burning. Daniel, she said softly. He froze, turned slowly. When their eyes met, Alicia's chest cracked open. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, unshaven. His shirt wrinkled like he'd slept in it. But his eyes held so much pain, it nearly knocked her over. Alicia, her name came out rough. What are you doing here? I saw your press conference. Ah, that. He turned back to the stove, scraping eggs onto a plate. They were definitely burned. Probably a mistake. My PR team certainly thinks so. It was the bravest thing I've ever seen. Brave, right? He laughed bitterly. Because declaring your love for someone who ran away really worked out for me. Daniel, why are you here, Alicia? To tell me you were right, that we were a mistake. Because I've spent the last 9 days trying to accept that, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm here to tell you I'm sorry. She moved closer, her voice breaking. I'm here to tell you that you were right. I was running. Not from you, but from my own fear. Fear of losing you. Fear of being happy because happiness never seems to last for me. Fear of mattering so much to someone that if they left, I wouldn't survive it. He turned to face her fully. And now? Now I'm still scared. Terrified, actually. But I'm more scared of living without you than I am of anything the world might throw at us. Daniel's jaw worked. You hurt me, Alicia. You left when I needed you most. When I just told you I loved you. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down her face. I was wrong about everything. You're not your father. I'm not Rachel or whoever hurt him. We're us. And I should have trusted that. Should have. He set down the spatula. Past tense. Present tense, she corrected, stepping closer. I do trust it. Trust us. Trust you. And if you'll give me another chance, if you can forgive me, I promise I won't run again. No matter how scared I get, no matter what people say, I'll stay and fight with you. The silence stretched. Alicia's heart was in her throat. Then Daniel closed the distance between them and pulled her into his arms. You're an idiot, he said into her hair. I know. You broke my heart. I know that too. And I love you so much it's terrifying. She pulled back to look at him. Still? Still. Always. Even when you're being an idiot. He cupped her face. But Alicia, if we do this, if we try again, you have to promise me something. Anything. No more running. When things get hard, when people judge, when Evan spreads more poison, and he will, you talk to me. We face it together. Deal? Deal. She kissed his palm. "I love you, Daniel Pierce. I'm in love with you. And I'm sorry it took me so long to be brave enough to say it." His smile was like sunrise after a long, dark night. "Say it again." "I love you." "Again." "I love you." "One more time." She laughed through tears. "I love you. I love you. I love you." He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promise. The kind of kiss that felt like coming home, like finding something precious you thought was lost forever. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daniel rested his forehead against hers. "Your eggs are burning," Alicia said. He laughed. "Let them burn. I'm exactly where I want to be." The next few weeks weren't easy. The press had a field day with their reunion. Evan continued spreading rumors, though his influence diminished when the board officially reaffirmed their support for Daniel. Some of Daniel's business associates made snide comments. Some of Alicia's former co-workers at the diner left mean comments on her social media, but they faced it together. Daniel hired Alicia back, not as his cook, but as head chef for a new restaurant he was opening. Her restaurant, where she could create the kind of food she'd always dreamed of making. It silenced most critics who claimed she was just riding his coattails. Alicia moved into the mansion slowly, one drawer at a time, until suddenly she realized it wasn't his house anymore. It was theirs. Mrs. Howard became family, the kind aunt who offered wisdom and occasionally covered for them when they got too distracted in the kitchen. She taught Alicia family recipes and told stories about Daniel as a child. She beamed with pride when Daniel finally seemed at peace. Even Evan eventually backed off, realizing he'd lost. He stayed away from family dinners and stopped his schemes, content to run his smaller portion of the company without interference. 6 months after that first kiss in the storm, Daniel planned a dinner party. Nothing too elaborate, just close friends and Mrs. Howard. Lydia flew in from her new job in Chicago, excited to see how happy her friend had become. Alicia cooked, of course. A feast that combined all her favorite dishes, the ones that told the story of who she was. Her grandmother's bolognese, the coq au vin from their first real date, chocolate lava cakes that Daniel loved, everything made with love and care. They ate in the dining room, laughter filling the space. Stories were shared, wine flowed freely. For the first time, Alicia felt like she truly belonged in this world, not because of Daniel's money or status, but because these people loved her for who she was. After dessert, Daniel stood, tapping his wine glass for attention. "Speech!" Lydia called out, grinning. "Just a quick one," Daniel promised. He looked at Alicia, his eyes warm. 6 months ago, I thought I knew what my life would be. Lonely but safe, protected but hollow. Then this incredible woman walked into my kitchen and changed everything." Alicia's eyes filled with tears. "She taught me that risk is part of love, that walls keep people out, but also keep joy locked away. That sometimes the best things in life come without contracts or guarantees, they just require faith." He reached for her hand. "Love wasn't in our original contract, Alicia, but it's turned out to be the best deal of my life." "Cheesy," she said through tears, but she was smiling. "True, though." He pulled her to her feet and kissed her in front of everyone. Mrs. Howard dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. Lydia whooped and applauded. When they broke apart, Daniel whispered, "Thank you." "Elsa's for what?" "For being brave enough to come back, for choosing us, for making this house feel like home." Alicia looked around at the faces of people who'd become family, at the kitchen where she and Daniel had learned to cook together, at the man who'd been willing to risk everything for her. "Thank you for fighting for me," she whispered back, "even when I wasn't fighting for myself." Later that night, after everyone had left and Mrs. Howard had gone to bed, Daniel and Alicia found themselves back in the kitchen. Their kitchen, the place where everything had begun. "Want to make something?" Daniel asked, pulling ingredients from the fridge. "At midnight? Why not? I'm finally getting decent at this cooking thing. I should practice." Alicia laughed. "You burned toast yesterday." Details. They made cookies together, chocolate chip from scratch. Daniel still mixed the dough too enthusiastically, sending flour everywhere. Alicia still scolded him with a smile. They tasted the dough straight from the bowl, not caring that it was technically unsafe. When the cookies were in the oven, filling the kitchen with warmth and sweetness, Daniel pulled Alicia close. "Dance with me," he said. "There's no music. There's rain." He nodded toward the window, where a gentle shower pattered against the glass. "And there's us. That's enough." So they danced in the kitchen at midnight, just like they had during that first storm. But everything was different now. No fear, no walls, no pretending. Just two people who'd found each other against all odds, who'd chosen love despite the risks, who'd learned that sometimes the best things in life can't be planned or contracted. They can only be felt. "I love you," Alicia said against his chest. "I love you too." Daniel kissed the top of her head. "Forever, if you'll have me." Forever sounds perfect. The timer dinged. The cookies were ready, but neither of them moved, content to stay wrapped in each other's arms, swaying slowly in the warm kitchen while rain sang its gentle song outside. They'd started as employer and employee, became friends, fell in love, fought for each other, and now they were simply home. Love hadn't been in the original contract, but as Daniel had said, it turned out to be the best deal of either of their lives, the kind of love that transformed loneliness into belonging, fear into courage. Two separate people into one unbreakable whole, and it all began in a kitchen, with an omelette and a chance worth taking. Sometimes, Alicia thought as Daniel spun her in a slow circle, the best recipes don't come from cookbooks. They come from hearts brave enough to risk everything for something real. She'd risked her heart, Daniel had risked his, and together they'd created something beautiful, something lasting, something that tasted like forever. The end.